Welcome back. Thanks for your company. The official battle lines are being drawn on the voice to Parliament. Both sides unveiling their official campaign messages today. Joining us to discuss is Northern Territory Senator Malarndirri McCarthy in Darwin and 3AW's Neil Mitchell in Melbourne. Thank you both for your time this morning. Malarndirri, there are fears the Yes campaign will overreach its intended powers. Will the release of your new messaging ease those fears for some in the community?
It's absolutely wonderful, I think, Sarah, that we're at this step where Australians can have a look at what the Yes campaign is in terms of the pamphlet, and obviously have a look at the No campaign. It's democracy in action. I believe that once Australians do see the campaign pamphlet, they will be able to see for themselves just how simple this gesture is in terms of First Nations people calling on Australians to support an advisory group, a committee in the Constitution.
Neil, both sides are ramping up their campaigns, the No side arguing the proposal is risky and divisive. What do you make of those arguments?
Look, I wish I could agree with the Senator. I can't. I think this will be political junk mail. I don't think people will even look at it. I think they're far more concerned about what you're just discussing, their cost of living and how they pay the bills. I think the No side might have just got, well, the final nail in the coffin of the Yes side is where that slogan is quite brilliant. If you don't know, vote no. I think that's a very clever slogan. And look, I haven't read them all yet because they're not released yet, but I've seen the rundown of it. The Yes side is again arguing this is what we hope to achieve, and what they hope to achieve is right, is excellent, but it's not telling us how. And that's where people will be reluctant.
I guess there is a bit of concern, Malarndirri, about when these pamphlets are being released. I mean, it's not going to be until closer to the referendum. Is that wise, considering the concerns that exist right now and the lack of detail that people are claiming doesn't exist?
Well, the pamphlet's just one avenue, Sarah. Obviously, we have the Yes campaign participants right across the country reaching out, whether it's in town hall meetings or around coffee tables, walking the streets of communities, being able to answer those questions. And, you know, I hear the despair in Neil's voice, and I'm ever conscious that we've got to reach out and reach the hearts of Australians. This is about our future Australians, Sarah. I don't want our future Australians to have to deal with the issues of closing the gap where we have low life expectancy. You talk about cost of living. Well, if First Nations people don't have a home to live in, then there are different pressures that they're experiencing, and we're just asking on Australians to see this in terms of what an advice will always be about.
Neil, you wanting to jump in there?
I agree with all that, but you said you want to appeal to their hearts. I think you've got to appeal to their minds as well. They're screaming out for detail. They're screaming for detail, and I'm not seeing a lot of that anywhere at any time. The ambitions are great. Of course we want to improve things, but how?
Well, I stood in the Parliament floor, Neil. No, and I think this is an important conversation. Sorry, Sarah, but I stood on the Parliament floor in the Senate for 10 hours answering those questions right up till 4:15 in the morning. We know that the Parliament will have the responsibility to be able to follow through if we are successful in this referendum, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that we need to be keeping a close eye on, that's for sure. Well, the Solomon Islands Prime Minister is defending his nation's close ties with China, accusing Australia of being unneighbourly for criticising that alliance. Malarndirri, is the government concerned about the Solomon Islands' close ties with Beijing?
Look, we've been concerned about it, certainly while we're in opposition, Sarah, when this deal came through under the previous government, and we're rightly continuing to ask questions around it. I do think that's an important thing to do. I think it's the responsible thing to do. We need to understand what the relationship is between China and the Solomons, and are asking for that agreement to be made public.
Neil, this is a bit of a worry, I think, because when we're talking about the Solomon Islands, we know how vital that is to our relationship within the region. I mean, do you see this as China trying to drive a wedge between Australia and the Solomons, or is this more a case of the Solomon Islands government just trying to capitalise on the most coin here?
It doesn't matter which it is. They're both negative, and China has shown in the past that it will use that desire for money to get a foothold. And of course Australia should be involved. Like it or not, there are tensions with China. They are long-term tensions. Some people say they could erupt. And if we allow China to get too strong a foothold in the Solomons or anywhere else in the Pacific, we're fools.
All right, well, let's move on now to this wild card weekend. It's on the table for the AFL, apparently. The league's new boss, Andrew Dillon, proposing teams outside the top 8 play their way into September. Neil, I don't know about this. What do you make of the proposal? Because we know that a lot of teams end the year separated by simply percentage alone. But this changed, I don't know, it seems a bit radical.
That seems a bit silly, man. It's like that policy you have when the 10-year-olds are having a race and nobody loses, everybody wins. You know, the kids aren't allowed to lose. I'm confused enough. I've been following AFL all my life and I still don't know how it works. One plays 4 and then somebody else goes interstate and somebody else has a week off in the finals. Don't complicate it. Leave it alone, please. I can't work it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to that as well. I think the top 8 should remain that way. Melandiri, should we give everyone a bit of a go?
Look, so long as the Richmond Tigers are in there, Sarah, I'm happy, OK?
There'll be a lot of Carlton fans too, I think, who wouldn't mind that idea, I reckon. They just missed out last year. All right, well, thank you both so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Hey there, Today fans. Sarah and...
What's my name again?
Oh, my goodness. Carl.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports and amazing Aussie stories.
And Carl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
that never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?